I used to struggle tons with mentally coping with criticism because I felt like I was maybe just seeking the approval rather than taking their criticism as advice. I had a really negative mindset towards people giving me advice or even people being critical of my actions because I wanted to be liked so bad that when I was critique, I didn't know how to cope with it. It felt so detrimental to me because not only were they critiquing me, they were critiquing my actions and my thoughts and the things that I control on the daily. Sure, if you critique somebody about their height or their stature or something, like those are things they can kind of control, but those aren't things that they actively make the decision on daily to act in a certain way or to say certain things or to take certain action. And it really felt like I was being critiqued on something that only I had the power to change. And I think this changed and it kind of shifted when I read Marcus Aurelius Meditations for the first time. And he said something along the lines of caring about what others think is merely just like a distraction. And we should only be looking in and whatever. I hate that. I can't disagree more. We should allow the people that are around us, especially if you are consciously having a close knit circle of people that and friends that you enjoy to be around or just good friends to have, we should allow those people around us to critique us. Especially like I said, if it comes from a friend, but if it comes from an artist or someone that's more experienced or someone that's just older than us, and even if you don't agree with their critique, ask them why they feel that way. Why do they feel like you should be maybe doing something else? Maybe their experiences have led them to believe that these things that you're doing just aren't good for you to be doing. They're just not smart. But they are not you. They don't have the same goals that you have. They don't see good and bad and moral good and evil the same way as you do. And you guys have separate experiences and come to your own decisions in your own separate ways, and that's okay. That's great. But does that mean that these people should dictate the decisions on your life? No. But does that also mean that you can just like shut them out when they say something you don't necessarily like or agree with? No. I try to imagine what it's like to be in their shoes and how they see me as a person. They don't live my life, so they don't see me the same way that I see me. They only see me in the light of what I show them. And ultimately, the only person that I know fully is myself, and I only know my intentions. So if someone is like nasty to me and even being critical in a mean or rude way, you should try and practice empathy because you don't really know what maybe they're going through, and that seems so cliche, but that's really where I agree with Marcus Aurelius is that I can only control my actions. I can't control these things that are outside of my own reach because they're out of my control. And sure, I have the ability to approach these people with empathy and compassion, but when somebody gives me advice I may not agree with, I cannot stop them, but rather just change my mindset on the way that I see the criticism they're giving me. Getting a little ahead of myself. The purpose of your life is not just to be accepted. You are not called to do what everyone else thinks you should be doing. Rather, First Peter tells us the exact opposite. First Peter says that each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. You should be a faithful steward of God's grace in your own way with the skills that the Lord has granted you. You've never been called to do what the world thinks you should be doing. Do what it is that the Lord calls from you. And the best part about other people's criticism is that you don't have to listen. This is criticism that's coming from another human being that's walking on the world just like you, that's breathing the same air as you. They don't know everything, and neither do you. You don't have to take their criticism, but you also don't have to tell them they're wrong for giving you advice. You can kindly just not take it. Even if they mean it in a genuine way or they mean it in a malicious way, you don't have to take it. You could just go about your life and use your unique set of God given skills to complete the tasks you have been given to complete. And so naturally, after that, I have to ask myself, why do I get so upset? Just because someone doesn't like me or when someone criticizes the things that I'm doing, why do I get so wound up within myself? And it's not because I hate being critiqued. I think if the people around you aren't being critical of your actions. They're not like good friends. But rather, I think that I seek approval from these people. I seek the approval of others and from myself, when all actuality, I don't need their nod of approval because they don't understand the path I'm on and what I've been called to do, just as I may not know theirs. I don't know why they take the actions that they take. Only they and God know really why they do those things. Dude, and here's the big idea. Maybe we aren't called here just to be liked. Maybe we're here to be unapologetically ourselves. Regardless of what others around us think, I'm not here to be approved by these other people that walk the same ground as I do and breathe the same air as I do. But that does not mean that we can block out advice and not even listen to the criticism and be haste on how we talk back to these people regarding their criticism. There's power in digesting what was said to you. There's power in digesting what was said to you before reacting to it. This is a skill that everyone can probably do, but very little people practice, and including myself. I find myself often I jump the gun and somebody says something to me and I start at the beginning and then I go to the conclusion and I already know how the situation is going to go, I feel like. So I jump to the end and then I end up looking like an idiot. But maybe when these people say something to you, this criticism is genuine. And although you may not like that it was said, and there could be substance in it, but if you're just going to the conclusion and you're not even attempting to let it soak in and really digest what it is they mean, then it's your fault. It is your fault when you look like the dummy because they were trying to help you and you lashed out at them. Now you look like a big old dummy. And really, the last point I want to hit on is something I recently heard from Connor Beaton on the Modern Wisdom podcast, which is great, by the way. He's a men's life coach, and he talks about that probably the biggest takeaway from someone giving you criticism isn't what was said, but rather how it made you feel. And again, that seems cliche, but when you really look back at how did that make me feel? Not what was said to you or how it was said to you, but what did you feel in that moment when it was said to you? It's so insightful when you apply it into your own life. And when I'm confronted with this question, a lot of times I immediately go to war with myself. And when somebody comes up to me and they criticize a photo that I took and they're like, "Oh man, I think maybe it could be a little bit brighter or something." Immediately I feel the need to defend myself, and I immediately on the inside tear myself down as to why I'm such a bad photographer and that's not at all the intention of this other person that's giving me this advice. Truly, they just want me to be a better photographer, and this is how they feel like they can help me do that. And obviously, these aren't new and novel ideas of criticism. This is just a wide overview. And how easy is it to say these things, but it's so much harder to actually practice patience when somebody is criticizing. I feel like that was just like a whole bunch of rambling, and all of that just to say, don't be offended. And all of that just to say, don't be offended by how critically they speak about you. They're either projecting onto you, trying to give you good advice, or they seek your empathy and your compassion. Now it's your decision to do with the critiques that they give you. You don't have to take them, you don't have to listen to them, but digest it and figure out how you feel about it and why they said it. And go read Marcus Aurelius Meditations. It's a great book.